talking about the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no, stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
I do plan on calling the defense. Great question. I think that's a strength of mine. I think that's one of the reasons I'm sitting here. But I also think it's my leadership qualities, and I really look forward. I have a really good process, I feel, to do what I need to do to be ready to call the game, but also have the ability to be the head coach and to impact the entire roster, the entire team, make sure that it's our offense, our defense, our special teams, and that there's no divide there, and I know that I'm in charge of all that. But it starts with the relationships with the people in the building, particularly the players, and I think they'll feel my competitiveness, they'll feel my mentality every day, and I think we'll work hand in hand together to build a great team.
That, of course, the new head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, Jesse Minter, yesterday.
Pretty sure that was a clip of Nate Bargatze.
Yeah. I'm glad you pointed that out. No one else has. Thank you.
Well, it's uncanny, though.
Thank you for noticing that. You are, I believe, the first. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. And if it's Friday, our chief grand poobah here at Press Box, Stan the Fan Charles, is in studio with us. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you guys.
Not much in the way of news coming from the Jesse Minter introductory press conference, because that's not really what introductory press conferences are typically for. They're for getting to know you. That's, hi, welcome to town, that whole kit and caboodle. You could say that that's the closest thing there was to news, but it would really have only been news if Jesse Minter had said, nah, I'm not gonna.
I'm calling the offense, actually.
Yeah, right. Like, he was hired to run the defense. So it's not news as much as it's just, if there was any bizarro world where he wasn't calling the defense, then I guess that would have come out. And again, that's why if I'm Jim Leonard, who reportedly is in Baltimore today interviewing for the defensive coordinator job, I'm probably more interested in the other jobs that are available in Buffalo, or did they ever hire somebody in L.A., or is that still available?
The Chargers?
L.A. Chargers?
Yeah, they got the Western.
Available.
No, it's the Western Michigan guy.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Right.
O'Leary.
O'Leary, right?
Or is it Leary?
Yeah.
Something.
So, yeah, but I'd be more interested in Buffalo because I'd actually be the defensive coordinator there, whereas here, you're de facto defensive
Well, it'd be
coordinator.
interesting to be a fly on the wall and see what they would talk about. You know, I mean, obviously that's the 6,000-pound elephant in the room, you know, is what he would do.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of places where there's a, for example, the Ravens are talking to Declan Doyle, the offensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears,
Right.
who hasn't really been the offensive coordinator in Chicago.
Right.
We all know Ben Johnson's the offensive coordinator in Chicago. There is a role, and you get to hold the title, and there are meetings that you run. There are things that you do that aren't calling the game. Calling the game is the thing that gets you a head coaching job. Like, if Jim Leonard wants to be a head coach, you need to call the defensive plays. You need to be somewhere where you're the guy, because it's the Eric Bieniemy comparison, right?
Yeah.
For years, Eric Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator of the best offense in football, but nobody thought he should be a head coach because he wasn't really the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Look, I loved when Jim Leonard was on the
Jim
Ravens.
Leonard was a beloved for 1 year, and yet we still talk about him.
But he's just one of the smartest players.
No doubt.
I loved watching him play. So if there's a chance to bring him in, maybe there's the assistant head coach title.
There's absolutely. If I'm the Ravens, I'm incredibly interested in Jim Leonard.
Yeah.
If I'm Jim Leonard, it's really hard to sell me that there's anything that you can do. Like they
But
did
he's
that,
going to come here, compare the weather to Buffalo.
right, and say this place is
balmy.
practically tropical.
That was the one thing we had over Buffalo.
Well, it
He's going
was.
to come in and he goes, God, this reminds me of Buffalo.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's the only point that I make. If I'm Jim Leonard, I want to be somewhere where I'm calling the plays because that's my path. Like, for example, Anthony Weaver dealt with that, where he got to be the assistant head coach, but he wasn't the defensive coordinator, and the league sort of said, sorry, man. Like, it's very rare that someone that isn't calling plays gets to become a head coach. Clearly, John Harbaugh got to do it as a special teams coordinator, but it is extraordinarily rare that you hire someone who's not a play caller. Jim Harbaugh, I guess it's just the Harbaughs. Like, the Harbaughs are the coaches that get to become coaches without calling plays. I don't know who else is on that list.
Vrabel, is he calling plays? No.
I don't know if he's calling plays now. He definitely had called plays,
Yeah.
though. However, before he got his first opportunity, he had been a play caller. So I couldn't tell you if he's calling the plays at the moment or not.
He's not. I know because the Zach Core is the
Who?
He's the defensive play caller for.
But who is his name? What's his name?
Zach Core.
It sounds like you're saying Zach Orr.
Yeah.
that's
It just
right.
sounds like you're saying Zach Orr when you say that because it's Zach Core.
Yeah,
That's wild.
but it's spelled like.
Is that
his
what
last name is
happened to
spelled
John
weird.
Harbaugh? He thought he was getting Zach
Zach
Core,
Core.
Oh, yeah,
and he ended up
maybe,
with Zach
maybe.
Orr, and he was like,
No, well, Zach Core.
classic mix-up.
Zach Core. It's because Terrell Williams was the DC for the Patriots, and then he got. I think he has cancer actually.
Oh.
And so the
Where's-
linebackers coach Zach Core has been calling the playoff or has been calling the defense for the
How
playoff
about
run.
Where's
so, yeah.
Matt Patricia at now? Is he
Ohio
at
State.
Ohio State?
I
Yeah.
believe he's still at Ohio State.
Gave up a
after-
bunch of points to
He would be
Indiana.
great.
Well,
at-
13 of them.
He'd be great
nice.
at being
That's a
a
good point.
second banana on defense. Wasn't he supposedly Belichick's
Yeah,
DC,
basically.
But Belichick was
Yes, of course, running
that
the
worked
defense.
out pretty well.
Um,
Although he's not a Hall of Famer. You know.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that this morning. Nothing else, again, newsworthy to me that came out of the Jesse Minter press conference. Just him saying nice things.
Would
and
you have liked to have seen your quarterback there?
Do not care. Never will.
Okay.
Never will. I have actual Lamar Jackson. I care about one thing related to Lamar Jackson.
Health.
When the contract status.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of crazy, and I know that they orchestrated who was allowed to ask questions and who
Right.
wasn't allowed to ask questions yesterday, but I can't believe Eric DeCosta was available to the media, and no one said, hey, we're only a couple of weeks away from the start of free agency. Has there been any movement in conversations with Lamar Jackson, which Steve Bisciotti laid out 2 weeks ago, rightfully, were incredibly important to this franchise. And they are, and I still think we're not taking it seriously enough. So that was crazy to me, and I get it. I'm not blaming the reporters there because I know
Right.
you're only allowed to ask one question, and that's
And the whole press conference lasted about 33
I
minutes.
thought that was.
I mean, it was ridiculous.
Well, you had to have him on with Colin Cowherd. It was just really important for the world that
He went on with
Jesse
Cowherd, too? I
Minter-
missed that one.
Yeah, go join the Colin Cowherd program.
The herd with
They
Colin
couldn't have been
Cowherd.
on the Colin Cowherd program before.
Well, but then he also had to do the Pat McAfee program.
Oh, okay.
And so it's too much. Yeah. It's too much. Those things are really
Yes.
I mean,
We also had to do Ravens Lounge or whatever it's called.
sure. Also these are the most important things instead of allowing
Your local
the media
fans to learn something. about
ask
it.
ask
Anyway.
some more questions. But that's a whole different conversation. I know people were trying to do something with that yesterday. I guess comparing that Josh Allen was at Joe Brady's press conference, maybe.
Yeah.
I know this is gonna be breaking news. Lamar Jackson hates the cold, hates it. I know we haven't picked up on that during Lamar Jackson's time as Ravens quarterback. I am so unconcerned about that part. Now I am concerned about the contract. Like that concerns me because it impacts the ability for the Ravens to improve the football team. And if Lamar Jackson isn't taking that seriously and doesn't think that it's imperative that he gets this done right now, then there is a bigger problem between the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Like, they knew when they entered into this pact that this had to get done. And if he's, for whatever reason, just like, nah,
Missing in action.
yeah, I don't really care about that, then there's a massive issue between the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. And as much as I say it's insane to talk about trade, at some point, you do have to talk about it. Because
I just thought symbolically, and I'm not usually real big on symbols. The guy is your most important player, and we heard the coach, the new coach, talking about, well, it takes time to get to know people, so he doesn't really know Lamar all that well, and I didn't get. We had some very productive talks, and I hope to have many, many more in the years ahead. I just would have liked to have seen him there. That's for me.
I mean, if he wanted to come, all of that sort of, it's all just a show to me. Like, with all respect to the people who are like, man, that was really amazing seeing all those former Ravens there, as if any of that had anything to do with like Jamie Sharper. Boy, I'm telling you, I know Jesse Minter's the guy. Right. Jamie Sharper got invited by the Ravens to come out to an event. They said, we'll take care of your lunch, and we'll make sure we get you some appearances in town. And he said, okay, I'll do it. Right. Like, none of this means it's like people standing behind a political candidate at a rally holding a sign. It will never mean anything to me ever. None of it means anything.
Quite agree.
Yeah, but if Terrence West speaks.
What's that?
If Terrence West
if
speaking,
Terrence West is there, then I know that they've got their.
listening.
If Terrence West shows up at the press conference, then I know the Ravens have nailed this. If Jermaine Lewis says, this is what I chose to do today, then I know the Ravens have their guy. And I'm not making it all apples to apples, but it's just that none of it. It's the same. Everybody thinks it's adorable that Steve Bisciotti went outside and hugged Jamison Hensley yesterday, and I have no problem with. God bless. I don't care. It doesn't say to me that Steve Bisciotti is a better owner than anyone else in football because he went outside and hugged Jamison Hensley in the cold yesterday. Being a good owner has nothing. It's neat.
Did Jamison need a hug?
He looked very cold. He looked very cold.
He was wearing shorts and short sleeves out front of him. I don't know.
And so I'm sure he appreciated the trap body warmth of Steve Bisciotti. But we do these things where it's like, this is the best owner in football. Why? Why? The best owners in football are the ones whose teams are playing. Those are the best owners in football right now. In this moment.
Okay.
Yeah, it's out there hugging Jamison Hensley after the and again, we fall for these traps where we just shiny red ball, and then Twitter is just nothing but this is amazing. Like, it's fine, it's neat. It's a neat nothing. I'm sure it was very sweet to Jamison Hensley that Steve Bisciotti came over and did that. Like, that's neat. But what does it have to do with anything? Well, if maybe there's a competition. Do you get a Super Bowl banner for most hugs given to ESPN reporters by the owner? Because
we'll find out. We'll find out in about
if you do,
12 months.
Then this is great. Otherwise, it's just nothing. It's just a thing that occurred. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. This is the problem. People are like, you're no fun. Like, no, it's neat.
Well, you are no fun.
But it doesn't make Steve Bisciotti the best owner because he walked outside and hugged Jamison Hensley.
No, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you that the contract is by far much more important than his showing up yesterday. But there's repeatedly times in his career here in Baltimore, and I don't want to get into a dump on Lamar thing, but it's just he doesn't stand up the way a real professional.
Apparently, you didn't hear he kicked the ping pong tables out of the locker room.
Who did, Lamar?
Lamar.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's just a very private guy, Stan.
And he doesn't like the cold. Wow.
Well, we know he doesn't like the cold.
Wow.
Look at him.
Then he should have played for the Los Angeles Chargers.
Well, it sounds like he's just like an old man. Like, that's just what he is. Like, he doesn't want to talk to anyone, and he wants to live in Florida.
I mean, this is the best comparison I would make. Josh Allen was at the press conference yesterday, and Josh Allen shows up for more things.
And he's on crutches, too.
And what more has Josh Allen accomplished in his career than Lamar Jackson has? Nothing. Yeah. Literally.
Well,
nothing.
he's married to Harry Steinfeld.
There he is. He is married to Haley Steinfeld. I have no idea, and it's why.
But I bet if Lamar wanted to, I bet he could.
This is what I always say. It's like when people freak out about flying receivers in the meet. I'm not opposed to any of it. If you want to do that, I think that's great. But there has never been a correlation between these things and winning. Mm-hmm. It's just it's very much the bull's ass scene from Tommy Boy. Like, we want the guarantee fairy to come in and say something to us. If he did, I would think that would be swell that Lamar Jackson flew in. The fact that he didn't, I need you to go win football game. I need you to get a contract done. That's what I need.
See, I think it's part and parcel of not getting a contract done, and how long he took the last time. is that he just doesn't step up like a pro, and I'm not talking about his football playing. I'm talking about right now some of these more symbolic things, but clearly the contract is not symbolic. It needs to
It's
be
incredibly
handled.
practical. Yes, it needs to happen. And I have lots of. I think that we're whistling through the graveyard a little bit when it comes. I wrote that this week. I think that we're all completely ignoring the significance of the timeline when it comes to this. Like, we can say it's still a month away, free agency, but the combine is really when free agency starts, and there's an argument the Super Bowl is because a lot of the owners are going to be in town, and GMs will be in town, and they might have some meetings while they're there. But this notion that there's a legal tampering window, like a quote-unquote, this is when tampering can start, has always been nonsense. The combine is nothing but tampering. That's what they're doing, is they're all meeting with agents, they're all getting a feel for what offers are on the table, and the Ravens need to know where they're at monetarily going into free agency. And if Lamar Jackson, and I don't know, it might be that they're talking every day. It's possible that Eric DaCosta was on the phone with Lamar Jackson until the moment he went out for the press conference. I don't know, because nobody asked about it. Because we're only allowed to ask so many questions. Because dadgummit, gotta do the Colin show. Gotta make that happen. I don't know. I'd like to know, because when I say this, it might be insane what I'm saying. I'm saying, is Lamar Jackson not responding? And if he's not, then there's a huge problem. It's massive.
Well, that's what I kind of mean a little bit about his not coming to Baltimore. It's sort of like he's on like what's it called when you turn your thing on,
Cruise control?
Yeah, and not cruise control. You turn your electronics. He's like
disturb.
missing in
Sleep
action.
mode?
Do not disturb. Yeah.
No, do not disturb. Okay.
Yeah, sort of like that. It just seems like that would have been a great way to show that, hey, I'm really behind this new, and I'm going to do the right thing and get my contract straightened out. Again, it just leaves me feeling, doesn't leave me feeling excited about what's
Well,
ahead.
what right he has. Why does he have to restructure that? I mean, obviously, we want him to because they can't sign anyone else. But,
Does he want to win the Super Bowl?
you would assume so, yeah.
Okay, that's the reason.
Yeah, that's the reason.
Like, this thing, because I've had people say this to me, like, Lamar doesn't have to do that. Well, yeah, you're right, he doesn't if he doesn't want to win a Super Bowl. If he's not concerned with that, which, again, would spit in the face of everything he's ever said, but if all he cares about now is making money and getting closer to free agency, then he has that choice. Mm-hmm. But we were to understand, and because he said it, that his priority is winning a Super Bowl. And everyone knows when they agreed to this deal, this wasn't a surprise.
Right.
When
this didn't sneak up on anybody.
When the deal was agreed to, everyone knew, hey, in 3 years, we got to have this conversation again. We've got to make this work because that cap number will not work. Yeah. This is not, like, he's not doing a solid for someone. This was part of the way that they structured the deal that he agreed to. So, yes, the onus is on Lamar. It's on the Ravens, too. And if the answer is, well, the Ravens are making bull-S offers, if that's what Lamar's like, I'd like to do the deal, but you should see the offers they're putting in front of me. It's a joke. Then that's a different conversation. I don't know what's going on. That's why, again, I would have liked to have been a question about it yesterday. It would have been nice. But there is a bigger problem, and I do see the onus is on both sides. Steve Bisciotti told us that he is trying to get a deal done with Lamar, and he intends for Lamar to be his quarterback. So I've heard that side of it. We haven't heard the Lamar side of it, right? And that is, to the point, like, that is kind of part and parcel for him. He marches the beat of his own drum, and there's no agent out there leaking things to the media to say how it's going. But every day that goes by that there's no deal done is a day closer to the start of free agency and a day closer to this being a legitimate problem. A real issue. In truth, it's different than the last time, when the last time it was just going to mean he was going to be on the franchise tag. Like, he wasn't going anywhere. He was just going to be tagged. This time, if he knows this is coming and isn't prioritizing it, then it would suggest he doesn't want to be here. And we have no reason to think that. As I said in the column that I wrote this week, there is no reason to think Lamar Jackson wants to be, no matter what dumb, with all due respect to Mike Preston, I'm not calling him dumb, but a dumb column. No matter what hypothesis we throw out there, there is no tangible evidence that Lamar Jackson wants to play for anybody else.
But it seems like he wants to play for the Ravens entirely on his terms. It feels sometimes like the Ravens are a slave to whatever he wants to do, whatever whim.
Yeah, I don't
he
know.
wants.
I don't know that I would go that far. I do think they make concessions to Lamar
make
Jackson.
an awful lot of
but
concessions.
I think that most organizations would tell you they do the same thing for their quarterbacks. I don't think that's unique or Lamar specific.
Look, we don't know what Josh Allen demands
Yep.
or Patrick Mahomes demands,
And
but we get a sense that they're more reasonable or at least consistent in their behavior, and they don't have their mother handling their business.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes had to drag his brother around everywhere, and a wife that was spraying champagne on people, and everybody's got their things that teams are willing to put up with and say, "Look, you get to do this because you're the
Chiefs
quarterback."
put up with that Taylor Swift coming.
I
to the
mean,
games.
annoying and all the whole thing. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out with Lamar Jackson. Today's show is also brought to you by the Costas Inn. Love the Costas Inn. 2 locations for the Costas Inn. Of course, the original on North Point Boulevard in Dundalk, and the new location. I don't even know if we call it new anymore. The second location.
Second location, yeah.
Open at the Grandstand in Timonium.
It's been open since about October.
Yeah, I was thinking September when I was talking about it
Really?
earlier this week. You might be right though, but it feels like I was there in September.
Right.
But yeah, we love the Costas Inn. Everything you loved about the Costas. This is the Baltimore institution that we're talking about. That's the Costas Inn. I don't feel like I should have to sell you on it.
And I know institutions.
It's a good point. That is a good point. The Costas Inn has been around as long as Stan the Fan has.
Longer. Well, actually, I've known the Costas family since 1995. So I've known them 30 years.
Pretty amazing. That is pretty amazing. Love the Costas Inn. Always appreciate them. And whenever
They
Stan's
were nothing before.
is that
They
right?
were nothing.
Is that
Without
is that
me.
true?
I
don't know about that.
No, I don't know about that either. They were doing pretty good.
I think they
without
were
me.
too. All right, let's switch gears this morning here on GCR. I've been meaning to do this, but the Ravens hired a coach, and we just had other things going on. But I always value our conversations with our next guest. You, of course, know him from MLB.com, MLB Pipeline, and every now and then you'll pop him up on MLB Network. He is our friend Jim Callis, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Jim, it's Glenn, and Stan the Fan Charles is in studio with me today. Thank you, as always, for taking the time for us.
Yeah.
What
Be
the-
here. But am I the only Steelers fan who you guys ever have as a guest?
We
So-
try to hope that you don't remind people of that every time you're on.
I
Jim.
know.
We try.
They can enjoy my pain that the Steelers hired
hell of a hire.
McCarthy.
Hell.
Yeah, but that's great. I'll admit, I think it was time. I know this isn't why you called me.
I know.
It was time for a change, and Tomlin probably need to go. And I'm glad he went out on his own terms. And yes, I will relish his final regular season win. But to do all that and then hire Mike McCarthy, I guess we can embrace, 4-13, and maybe we'll get a quarterback or something. But
I joked about it, Jim. I said I think a lot of people have said for a few years maybe it would just be good if the Steelers sucked for a year. I just didn't expect them to take him up on it. I didn't think that they were actually going to buy into it.
You know who's a big Steeler fan? The actress from The Hunting Party.
I don't even know who that is. Who is that?
She's a very attractive blonde. You know that story?
I don't know anything.
Jim, do you know that story?
I've seen the commercials. Is that on NBC? That always pops up when I'm streaming. I know exactly who you're talking about. I have no idea.
I think it's on ABC. I think
it's on NBC.
No, it's on NBC. It's about a super prison that is broken into, and all the worst serial killers get loose. And she's part of a hunting party.
Her character's a Steelers fan, or the real life?
No, she, in real life they showed her.
Melissa
Melissa
Roxburgh. Yeah, apparently a massive Steelers fan. There you go.
The character on the hunting party is a Steelers fan, and she's upset, so now she's using excessive force after the Mike McCarthy. That's a plot twist.
She's actually hunting for Mike McCarthy
to
kill him.
Oh, man. Jim, I want to ask it this way, right? Because I feel like there's still some frustration in Baltimore that the Orioles have yet to acquire a top pitcher. And they're still – Framber Valdez is still out there. There are other free agents that could have happened. But particularly considering what they paid for Shane Baz, did the Orioles have enough in their system that they could have been in on Mackenzie Gore or some of these other trades, or does that just not exist here at this point that would have been a practical way for them to go?
Yeah, I mean, did you say you broke up 1 second? Did you say Mackenzie Gore? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, did they have enough that they could have pursued those
Or
types
Peralta,
of pitchers? Yes,
yeah.
or Cabrera even.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at what the guys got traded for, they did. I mean, the interesting factor in the Mackenzie Gore trade, which looks like it's more quantity than quality, and the Orioles had, and I'd rather have Gore than Baz, although I do like Baz. But the Nationals' new front office regime, led by Paul DeBoni and also Devin Pearson, those guys ran the Red Sox draft, and they loved Gavin Sheehan in last year's draft. They just didn't get a chance to pick him. So maybe that would have been a little different. But, yeah, I mean, you never – on paper, yes, could they have trumped what Texas offered? Yeah, I think they could have. I don't know that the Nationals would have valued – if you were trying to match up, similar prospects in the system, I'm not sure – that the Nationals would have valued the Orioles equivalent of Gavin Sheehan more than Gavin Sheehan, if that makes sense. But, yeah, I mean, they still have ammunition. I mean, if you wanted to go, all in, I mean, you could trade a Dylan Beavers, you could trade a Nate George, you could trade a Mike Irish. I mean, they've got some, Trey Gibson and some interesting pitchers. You could put together another 4-player package to go get somebody. I mean, it's always easy to say because we're not spending the money. But from a baseball cost standpoint, I almost feel like you'd be better off signing the free agent and not, pillaging your farm system. But yeah, they could still go out and make a trade if they wanted to.
Jim, looking at your top 100 list this year, a player like Kobe Mayo, has he simply been up too long to qualify for this, or you truly just don't see him in the top 100 right now?
No. He graduated. Like, we basically use the rookie standards. Once you exceed 130 at-bats or 50 innings or 45 days of active service time in the big leagues, you come off the list. And we'll do that even during the season. If, Dylan Beavers, I don't remember off the top of my head how much service time he has, but if Dylan Beavers, gets to 130 at-bats on May 12th, boom, he's off the list immediately, and then we'll replace him.
For pitchers like Nolan McLean, he didn't reach that threshold where he's graduated?
No, they kept him. I think he was like a couple innings and a couple days short. And the teams do that strategically because they've added a rule in the last CBA, which the Orioles benefited from with Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah.
That if you get a full year of service time and you win the Rookie of the Year, or you I think finish top 3 MVP or Cy Young before you qualify for arbitration, if you get a full year of service time and that happens, you get a pick at the end of the first round. And so teams have incentive, and the Mets did this. They made sure McLean did not get to 46 days or 50 in the third inning, because now if he goes out and wins the Rookie of the Year and he's a prime candidate, they'll get a first-round pick.
So my larger question with Mayo is, when you saw the Orioles sign Pete Alonso, did you think we'd be sitting here 5-6 weeks later and we'd still have Ryan Mountcastle and Kobe Mayo 2 weeks away before spring training starts?
I mean, you never know what's been talked about trade-wise. I mean, that seems redundant because all three of those guys seem like first base DH types to me, and you can't play all of them. And at the same time, you're trying to figure out how Daniel Basayo is going to get some playing time. I mean, he could play some DH and first base too, in addition to catching. So I mean, it is a bit surprising. Although, I mean, we've seen a bunch of trades in the last week or 10 days. So I mean, stuff's still possible. I think part of it too, again, not knowing what's been discussed, is you sometimes have teams that are like, okay, we're pursuing this free agent or that free agent, and then when you don't get the guys you want, all of a sudden maybe Ryan Mountcastle or Kobe Mayo looks more attractive after the free agent shopping's been ticked over.
He is Jim Callis. He's with us here on GCR. Jim, Basayo obviously in the top 10. That makes sense. You brought up Dylan Beavers' name earlier, who is still on the list, hasn't graduated yet. Where is your confidence level that Dylan Beavers is ready to be an everyday type of major league outfielder?
I think it's fairly confident. I mean, when they signed him, the question about him, I think, was how consistent will the contact be? He wasn't going to be a 200 strikeout guy in the big leagues, but you worried a little bit. He had tools, but there was some swing and miss. And I think he kind of got that into check, more so than ever last year. I mean, he had a really nice year in AAA. The cat, you can look at the question two ways. Like, I think he has nothing left to prove in the minors. So in that standpoint, yeah, I think he's ready for big leagues. Now, the flip side of that is I do think that final jump to the big leagues is probably harder than we even give it credit for. And, sometimes guys struggle at first. So, I think he's definitely earned his shot. And I think he'll be fine. I think he's a dark horse Rookie of the Year candidate, but I don't think there's much more for him to prove in the minors. And, I'm really impressed. I'll admit, I probably had a little skepticism in terms of, how well he controlled the strike zone, what he was ultimately going to be. But he made a huge improvement in that regard last year. And even in the big leagues, he struck out some and he kept it down, but he still walked a ton too. So I thought that was encouraging.
The rise of Nate George, right? Like I guess this is we should start buying into this at this point.
It's funny. So I'm based in Illinois. I do Illinois for the draft. Nate George is from Illinois, and teams like data. They like to be able to see these guys on the high school showcase circuit, where you can actually see them against quality pitching as opposed to, he's playing Illinois high school ball and there might be a guy throwing 78, 81 miles an hour. And, what can you judge off of that? And Nate George was not a big showcase guy. He did not go to a lot of showcase events. There wasn't, people didn't have this visual Rolodex of, at-bats against quality pitching. They didn't have TrackMan data because, they don't have TrackMan data, in high school baseball in Illinois. And so, I remember asking guys about him. He was one of the faster players in the draft. He was intriguing. And I just think, a lot of teams didn't have enough history to be comfortable with him. And there were probably, 3 to 5. I don't talk to every team. It was a handful of teams that were on him and interested in him. And, okay, we might take him late and give him an overslot bonus, which is what the Orioles did. They signed him for $455,000, which is about fifth-round money in the 16th round. But, I think what's impressive is you always wonder about these high school kids, okay, how easy is it going to be to adapt to pro ball. And with him, honestly, we didn't know. There wasn't a lot of history of him against good pitchers. He's coming out of a cold weather state, so it's not like a lot of great competition. And, as expected, he began his career in the complex league, and he tore that up. And so they gave him a quick promotion to single A, at age 19, and he tore that up. And they even, gave him a promotion to high A, for the final 3-4 weeks of the season, and he played well there too. So I think it's real. Like he's, I understand how teams scout, and again, it was kind of tough if you didn't have the comfort level with the data and the history against good competition. But a lot of credit to the Orioles, who were one of only a handful of teams that were like, on him, you had to go solely by what your eyes saw, what you saw that spring pretty much. And they saw enough to invest in him, and he looks really, really good. Comparing him, to kind of the guy who's more famous, who's kind of the similar type of player, the speedy center fielder. I think he's well past, not necessarily where they are in the system, but in terms of prospectum, well past Enrique Bradfield Jr.
I get it.
And he's not an 80 runner like Enrique is. He's a 70 runner. And he might not be a 70 defender like Enrique is, but he's a 60 runner. But I think he's a much better hitter, and I don't think he's going to be a slugger, but I think there's a lot more impact there too. I think he's at least a 15 home run guy. So, you're still getting plus defender, well above average speed, and you're getting a better bat. And I do think it's real. The fact that he went out and hit as well as he did, even in high A, relatively small sample size of 3 or 4 weeks, but he hit 290 in high A and got on base and continued to steal bases. It was very, very impressive.
Hey, Jim, one of the criticisms I've had of Mike Elias, and I have a great deal of respect for what he's accomplished here and how short it took him to get the team back to being competitive, but was that he never spent any draft capital on pitching. Meaningful draft capital. I'm not even talking about taking a pitcher number 1. Didn't take him at 2 or 3 or 4. Now, this past summer, he made a couple trades and he acquired Boston Bateman in the San Diego trade and Jerron Watts Brown from Toronto in the Dominguez trade. Those are the kind of guys I'm assuming he would have been interested in a couple years ago in drafting. Did he acquire anything meaningful in these pitchers he got back in those trades last summer?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an organization's philosophy is they just do not believe in taking pitchers with high picks. And, last year they had 4 picks before the second round. And I know I joked. I know scouts have talked like, hey, are they going to take a pitcher? How many pitchers are they going to take with those picks? One, maybe 2. They need pitching. And they took 0. They did take a couple in the second round. And I think in all the time they've been there in Baltimore, I think they've only taken maybe 4 pitchers in the top 3 rounds. Maybe it's 5, but it's not many. They just prefer, I guess, to like I get on one hand you can look at it, the pitching's very risky and it's volatile and they don't want to spend a lot of early round draft capital on it. And I think they feel like they can identify pitchers and, trade for them or get them with later picks. Like, their best homegrown, like Trey Gibson looks really interesting. He was a non-drafted free agent. Luis De Leon looked really good in the fall league. He was an international guy, but not like a huge, he signed for $30,000. So I think he came from the Astros where they had a lot of success finding pitchers, cheaply, especially in the international market. And they got Hunter Brown in the 5th round and so on. But yeah, I mean, Bateman's super interesting. I mean, he was a 2nd round pick, not by them, obviously. He's 6'8", 240, left-hander, really nice fastball slider combination. I like him more than I like Warren Watts Brown, who's also interesting. I think, to me, and I had Watts Brown, like we split the draft up in half, and I had Watts Brown in the draft. I think it's a really good slider. I think the rest of the stuff's pretty average. So I've always kind of projected him as more of a slider-heavy reliever than really a starter. But yeah, I mean they're looking at ways. They did draft those 2 pitchers last year. Zerwa and JT Quinn in the 2nd round. But it's also interesting too, where you talk about, like I just did, how the Astros had a lot of success when he was there at coming up with pitchers from inexpensive sources. But it's also a franchise that traded for Garrett Cole and Justin Verlander and Zach Greinke. So they went out and they gave up a lot of prospect capital to get pitchers to put the finishing touches on some of those teams too.
You brought up Enrique Bradfield's name a minute ago, Jim, and obviously, Enrique Bradfield is not on this list, but Enrique Bradfield is much closer, and I know had a really good stint in Arizona, although given the competition, it feels like
he was terrible. He was terrible in Arizona.
Really?
Yeah. He did not get out there, and his batting stance, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm not saying he's done, but he was alarming. Like, he's hitting with a really open stance, and I don't see how he's ever going to get any leverage. Like, I was sitting with somebody who'd seen a lot of him in college, and we were both like, why is he hitting like this? Like, that's going to get even less power. No, he hit about 210 in Arizona or whatever it was with 0 impact. He looked awful out there. Like, again, that doesn't mean you can't make changes, and I'm not going to claim I'm the hitting guru, but that batting stance looked terrible. It looked terrible.
So I guess we can skip ahead to the part I was going to say. You don't think the Orioles right now are defaulting to Colton Cowser in center field, and save for 6 weeks, Colton Cowser has never really proven to be a Major League Baseball player. And I don't know. He might be a very capable center fielder, but they need something. It sounds like you're saying Enrique Bradfield is not coming to save the Orioles at any point.
Well, I mean, I saw when they drafted him in the 1st round, and he played well at Vanderbilt, but I always thought he was a guy who he was going to be more helpful in terms of like the sum of the parts than the baseball card numbers. He was going to play very good defensive center field, which is hard to quantify. He's going to create havoc on the bases. He could get on base, but there wasn't be much power. And even going back to his draft year, he hit 279 at Vanderbilt with metal bats against SEC competition. And I love the SEC. I went to Georgia, but the SEC is not the big league. So there was a lot of question, how much impact was it going to be on the bat? And now I think there's even more question. I mean, he hit 242 last year with a 348 on base percentage in the minors. I mean, he was banged up a little bit. He hit 220 with a 340 on base percentage in the fall league, and he doesn't really have much power. He slugged 348 last year in the minors. And my concern with the slappy speed guys who have to get on base to be valuable offensively, and they don't have impact, and he hasn't shown impact. And so when you get to the big leagues and guys fall behind, they just don't walk as much. You fall behind the count 3-1 to Enrique Bradfield. you're going to throw the ball down the. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, down the middle, because you know he's not hitting it out of the park. Like, he's going to hit a single, and yeah, he could steal bases, et cetera, et cetera. But like, those guys traditionally, the speed slap guys don't walk as much in the big leagues because until they show that they can drive the ball a little bit, because people just aren't going to fear him. Like the pitchers, the pitchers who can, have reasonable control are like, well, I'm just going to, let this guy hit it when I'm behind the count 3-1 because he's not going to do a lot of damage. So I'm not meaning to crush him, but I was alarmed by how he looked in the fall league. And I think I'm sure they will incorporate some changes. And I do think he does have value as that speed and defense center fielder, but he's going to have to get better offensively. So I wouldn't say I'm not writing him off, but I would not count, at least based on what I saw in the fall league, I would not count on him helping the 2026 Orioles because he did not look close to me, and he's coming off a pretty rough year in the minors.
Jim, I've got one more question for you, and I know Glenn may have one more follow-up. But getting back to that pitching thing, I did a dive into it last year before the draft, and I added up all the pitchers going into last summer's draft that Mike Elias had picked. And I counted 51 pitchers that he picked, with one pitcher having made it to the major leagues with the Orioles, and that was Cade Stroud. Is that a pretty damning record? I mean, I get the whole, well, this is their philosophy.
They don't draft a lot of them, right?
Yeah, but isn't that where they're missing, is in that 3rd through 6th round, taking shots with pitchers? They seem like all their pitchers prior to last summer were like 10th, 11th round, 12th round, 13th round. In other words, I just am really disappointed that they haven't even been able to draft accompanying relievers that are accomplished reliever arms in their drafts.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to that. Like you kind of get what you pay for, and when you're not investing, I don't have the percentages, but if you look at percentage of money spent on hitting versus pitching in the draft, I would assume the Orioles might have the highest ratio of hitting versus pitching, and they've had a lot of success with hitters. And obviously you need both to win. You look in the American League East. I think the team every year they find big leaguers and trade capital pitchers after the 5th round. That's the Yankees. They do a really good job. So I'm surprised it's just one guy. I mean, I haven't dove into that. I mean, part of it is, if you're taking like late round flyers on guys in rounds 11 through 20, you're not signing them. I don't know, but it's telling. I mean, you look at their projected rotation this year, and it's Trevor Rogers trade, Kyle Bradish trade, Shane Baz trade, Dean Kramer trade, Zach Eflin trade. There's not homegrown guys there. I think Trey Gibson's interesting. Like, he was so good in AA and he got, beat around in AAA. I do think Trey Gibson is a legitimate guy. But even, you look at probably the next 2 guys up AAA right now might be Chase McDermott, trade, Cade Povich, trade. I do think, like I said, Luis De Leon looks super interesting too. But, I mean, look, I'm with you. It's no question. If you look, why have the Orioles not achieved everything we thought they were going to achieve when they first made the playoffs a couple of years ago and were on the rise? It's because the pitching hasn't come through.
Can I assume that the top 30 lists are what's up next for you guys?
They are. They should be out. I think we're releasing them all a couple days in advance of the spring breakout spring breakout rosters being announced, which is the first week of March. So I think all of our top 30 lists will come out the first week of March, toward the beginning of the first week of March. So yes, we're in progress. I do not do our Orioles list personally, so I have no secret insight of how that list is progressing.
Man, I was waiting for you to tell me Esteban Mejia is going to be number 3, and I guess he would have to be 4 because you had 3 in the top 100, and that we should all be fired up because hopefully there is something coming in the pipeline. But I don't know, man. I mean,
you kind of go half glass full, half glass empty. I mean, it's a huge arm, and needs more strikes, and he hasn't progressed that far. But it's a huge arm. I do think Trey Gibson did not miss making our top 100 by much.
Okay.
So he's an interesting one. And then again, he was a non-drafted free agent, but there was some weird stuff going on. So it wasn't like they just found him out of nowhere, but they were the team that got him got him signed. So, and like if we want to talk about positive AFL developments, Luis De Leon looked very good, and I think if you were doing a list of the top, I don't know, 15 or 20 left-handed pitchers in baseball prospects, he'd be on that list. Like he's pretty interesting.
Hey, I've got to ask you one last thing, real
Sure.
quick. Adley Rutschman. I mean, obviously, when he was draft eligible, you had him at or near the top. What the hell's happened to him, in your estimation?
If I knew that, I'd be making a lot of money as a consultant for the Orioles because, I mean, I've said this. I mean, I think Adley Rutschman. I don't think. I would say this. He's the best catching prospect I've ever seen, and I'm old. I've been doing this since 1989, and he's the best all-around catching prospect I've ever seen. And number one pick, number one prospect in baseball. He gets the Orioles in 2022, and he looks great. And he looks great in 2023. And for whatever reason, like he's not been the same hitter. He's gone backwards the last 2 years. I don't know. Like the defense, you see different defensive metrics, and that's been up and down. But he hasn't gotten the rave reviews he got early in his career too. I don't get it. I mean, I don't get it. Like he's still a very. I mean, if you're looking at wins above replacement or shorthand, I mean, he was 2 wins above replacement, which is a useful player, but it's not the star he looked like he was going to be. So I don't know. Like, because again, I mean, his first 2 years in the big leagues, this is exactly who we thought he was going to be. Almost immediately one of the best catchers in baseball. And even in 2024, his numbers were down, like more in the second half. And so you wondered, okay, I don't know, was there an injury? Was he a little worn out? Plays a lot. But last year was rough. So we'll see. I still believe in him. I know he missed
That's
time
what I
last
wanted
year.
to. That's what I wanted to hear, Jim.
Yeah, it was a tepid. It was a pretty tepid. I still.
No, it wasn't. It was more. I was more tepid about. I don't know how to pinpoint it, but
Yeah.
even last year when he was banged up and missed time, I mean, there were signs. Like I still can't believe the best catching prospect I've ever seen isn't significantly better than what we saw last year, unless there's some kind of injury that's going to, hold him back forever or something. I still, if I'm taking the over/under, maybe I shouldn't be making gambling analogies related to baseball, but if I were taking the over/under on whatever the projection is for a season, I would take the over. I still do believe him. Like, he's just too talented.
I love that. At Jim Callis, MLB, that's how you follow him. Jim, we always keep you entirely too long, but we always appreciate you.
Jim.
Thank you for taking the time. Let's talk soon. All
Oh,
right.
no, it was fun. I'm going to go back to ruining Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
As a Georgia,
Enjoy.
he was going to punt leave anyway. As a Georgia guy, I'm glad I don't have to look at Todd Monken on calling plays for the Ravens, because that was a bitter wound when he left Georgia for the Ravens. So.
And what a disappointment to find out that you're not very rich.
Yeah.
I thought all these years you were very rich.
Super wealthy. You just did it for the love of the game. That's all.
I don't even remember in what context I said that.
Yeah. Jim,
Thank you, Jim.
we'll appreciate you, brother.
Take care,
Thank
guys.
you, man.
Have fun. Bye-bye.
Jim Callis with us on GCR. Yeah, I love Jim. He always comes on, and even when it's just me, we always end up keeping him for about a half an hour because he's just such a fount of information. Let me run a couple things by you because we have some folks that are going to be stopping by here in a minute. I want to run by you. This was asked. John in Little Rock asked this question. Would you have wanted the Orioles to do the Harrison Bader deal?
Yeah, I like Harrison Bader. Yeah,
It was like, 2 and 20 or something like that?
2 for 20,
It does certainly seem like that would have been worthwhile. I pray that Colton Cowser is the guy that we thought he was going to be.
I think they're going to get a lot more out of Colton Cowser.
I
really
pray
do.
that's the case.
Yeah.
I pray it. But planning it is very difficult for me because we have way more evidence of the other guy than we have of the
Defensively, I'm not worried
Yeah,
about him in center field.
I don't think he's a super center fielder, but I think he's a fine
he's
center
fine.
fielder.
He's
Right.
fine.
Offensively, I don't know what Colton Cowser is, and
He's a guy that can hit high velocity very hard and
yeah,
very
and
far.
hit the crap out of it, right?
And then once they throw something that's got some spin on it, he's mystified.
No doubt about it. And I just couldn't. For me, I could not have been planning around Colton Cowser.
I think some very talented hitters get up to the big leagues, and then their mindset is I got to hit home runs, you know. And boy, when he hits them,
Oh, he hits them.
they
There's no
really
doubt. Right.
are-
The one in Tampa still hasn't landed
Yeah.
yet. We all know. I mean, like it's insane, but it is.
But
It is.
Enrique Bradfield's what was his OPS was 348.
Yeah, it was not
Yeah.
not.
Mine
gr-
was 296.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
So there you go. You might be in the mix. You might be in the mix for it. I would have been okay with the Harrison Bader deal as well. It definitely at this point appears as though their priority was Colton Cowser being the center fielder.
Yeah.
It does not seem as though they
It
were.
seems like they've got Taveras, who's a switch hitter, as sort of their backup plan. Very inexpensive. You know, you do look for these inexpensive. I won't call them gems. I don't think he's a gem.
I don't think so.
But he's solid defensively, and he's a switch hitter. So, you know, I worry a little bit. I think he's done some of the heavy lifting has been very good, but the construct of this roster, I still think
we
they're
talk
one or
about
two relievers short.
the relievers, obviously a top starting pitcher,
Top
and
starting
as you point
pitcher.
out, like you have a roster that is loaded with these
Tyler
these
O'Neill,
first base
Basayo,
kind of
Mountcastle.
positionless.
Yeah.
Bats that aren't even all defined as bats. So
And I would have liked to have seen somebody brought in that could compete with if Jeremiah Jackson is 80% of what he was
Yeah,
the
that's a
first
solid-
month. That's a solid player.
but also where
But-
all do you trust him to play?
yeah,
Like that's
one
Everywhere.
place, right field.
I mean that's
and you've
part
already
of it.
got O'Neill and Beavers.
And you don't really have a utility infielder, like
no,
at all.
no.
It's a strange construction of the team, which, I doesn't mean that I think that they can't win games. I don't look at this as a championship caliber team.
No, they're
And-
they're in my top 10 in the
Yeah.
power rankings. If they get Valdez, they're
All right,
probably 5 or 6.
Wow,
you know.
that's bold. That's
Yeah.
bold. And then I know you want to say something about. What do you have to say about the Bill Belichick thing?
It's just, you know, I hear all the things about the voting, the differential in, you know, the voting system and all that. It's a little bit above my head at this point in my life.
Well,
you know.
I do think
I just think it's kind of ridiculous.
it's weird because of course Bill Belichick should be going into the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
of course. But I do think it's pointing out how deeply flawed their process is, because the argument that like Vahe Gregorian in Kansas City made about, look, if these 3 seniors don't get in, they're not going to be on the ballot again.
Right.
Bill Belichick will just get in next year.
Yeah.
So I want to use my vote on these 3 seniors.
I understand that. One of the problems I have are these hard and fast rules that there can only be one contributor that goes in. I mean, I'm still bristling that Art
course.
Modell's not in the Hall of Fame. So the Belichick thing actually wasn't overly shocking. He's sort of he's a controversial figure that isn't. There shouldn't be any controversy about him being in the Hall of Fame. But they never fail to amaze me at what they can screw up. The Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame.
I should say it's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's
Pro
the
Football.
NFL does a lot of things that are wrong, but they don't actually
Yeah,
run
the pro football.
They have some influences. They rigged up a system to get Paul Tagliabue in a few years ago. That dummies like me were like, maybe this will get our.
I was just shocked that Kraft didn't get in. I thought.
Do we
they
know
were-
that he didn't get in? Didn't get in?
Oh, that's right. He's
I don't.
still.
I don't
okay,
think we
that's
know
right.
that he didn't
Okay.
get in.
Way to go, Stan. You're gonna lose your Hall of Fame
Yeah,
vote
right.
now.
It stands out
Spoiler
here
alert.
leaking things.
Spoiler alert.
This guy, it's like I talk to everybody.
didn't talk to
He's
anybody.
not.
I didn't
He's
even
not
talk
in.
to Scott Garceau.
What's on the docket for you? What's going on in your world? You get out
oh.
to all those lacrosse games this weekend?
No, I'm not getting out there.
It's okay because none of them are happening.
Yeah.
Zero.
I'm probably going to get back into the Zoom thing. Did a Zoom yesterday with Karen Miller and Brina Lewanchik of the gambling problem. You know,
the Center for Excellence.
Center
on,
for Excellence
on problem gambling.
in problem gambling. Did a Zoom with them. Hope to do something with Josh Lewin. I've been in touch with him. Also want to get back to having Andy Costco on, and thought I had Mike Schild lined up. It slipped through, so we'll gear up a little
All
bit
right.
for baseball.
All right, very good. At Stan the Fan is how you follow him. And he's been writing over at PressBoxOnline.com the last couple of weeks. You
I
can check
left the
that out
press
as well.
conference yesterday, and I didn't have anything to really write about.
I like purposely scheduled us doing the podcast with Rita for last night, so it'd be after the press conference, and then I watched the press conference like, I have nothing to say.
Yeah.
I have nothing to say
And
about
that's
this
not
press
a
conference.
negative. I
No,
didn't come away negatively.
It's just the nature of introductory press conferences where, like, short of there being some black mark for someone, there's really not. Jesse Minter's mostly an unknown. It's just more of a tell us about yourself kind of scenario, and that's what it was, and that's fine. Again, it was totally fine.
But I've been at every press conference for the four. I guess Preston's been at all four of them.
Probably.
But I was at the.
You were at Ted Marchibroda's.
I was at Marchibroda. I was.
And how was Weeb Eubanks?
I was not. I didn't say every Baltimore.
Are you sure you weren't there for that?
No. I was at Billick.
Yep.
And I was at John Harbaugh, and I was at Jesse Minter.
There you go.
I hope I'm not at the next one.
Oh, you hope that this one's going to take us through the end of watch for Stan the Fan. This will get us there.
I'll wheel you in, Stan.
Stan, he'll go pick you up at the home.
You're in good
we got some good friends. We got some friends
coming in.
No doubt about it.
All right.
Appreciate you, Stan. Thanks for coming in, as always, on a Friday edition of the program. We're gearing up for the Super Bowl, and it's a time where people can make some really bad decisions with their money. And so we're going to try to get you some good advice about betting the Super Bowl when we come back in. It is a Friday edition of...
I made my bad decision on the NCAA.
Right, because you bet on you had Indiana. He was going to put his house on Indiana to cover. He was like, I've never thought about making a $50,000 bet before, but this is the time. This was the one. Bet his house. Stan's actually been living in Leah's office for the last couple of weeks.
That's what that sound has been.
That's what that's been. All right, it's a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with two great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack. Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, CostasInn.com, for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Get in the game with Volo Sports. With over 15 sports to choose from, join a league or grab a Volo membership for discounted play, free daily pickups, fitness classes, and exclusive events. But the best part? A portion of every league fee helps the Volo Kids Foundation provide free sports to over 5,000 kids across Baltimore City each year. Don't miss out. Early pricing for the winter season ends December 12th. Final registration deadline is January 15th. Sign up now at volosports.com/Baltimore.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and it's our annual Best of issue, celebrating the top people, performances, and moments of 2025 in local sports. On the cover, we recognize 4 of the most significant athletes of the year: Orioles pitcher Trevor Rogers, Navy quarterback Blake Horvath, Maryland basketball star Derek Queen, and our 2025 Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton. Pressbox is available for free at over 250 locations throughout the region, including your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores. Plus, you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Watch like a fan, win like a champ. Live Casino is your home for the big game. Sunday, February 8th. Treat your crew to a game day like no other. Catch every play on massive wall-to-wall screens. Score epic food and drink specials and enter to win fantastic prizes. Make your game day a winner. Lock in your table today. at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, we're about 9 days away from Super Bowl 60, the Patriots and the Seahawks. And when you think Super Bowl, obviously you think about the gambling that goes along with it. And I just got this week, in fact, from some friends out in Vegas, a 60-page book. This is from the Westgate Superbook, 60 pages of Super Bowl props that they are offering. And I'll, of course, obviously I'll be betting on the Gatorade. Everybody knows I'll do that. And maybe the coin toss as well, perhaps the national anthem. Those are things I'll consider. But you think about sports betting significantly this time of year. And so, unfortunately, that means that someone is thinking about it that maybe shouldn't be thinking about it or is going to go too far with it. And so always appreciate our friends from the University of Maryland School of Medicine, Maryland Center of Excellence on Problem Gambling, coming by the studio. Michael Kafis is here, and he's brought Kenny Crawford along with him. Mike, it's good to see you, first of all.
Good to
always
see you.
appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.
The raw data on what we're talking about and how significant this week, this moment is in the world of sports betting.
It is very significant, and I will say it is. Let me just say, we're as concerned as ever, based on our 2024 prevalence study that came out, and some information came out where we found out that the incidence of gambling has gone up 1.7%. It went from 4% to 5.7. That is we don't have to be big math nerds, but that is a rate increase of over 40%. So things are increasing, and I don't want to scare people with numbers. That's, that it's just a thing that we need to be mindful of. What does that mean in real world terms, though? It means that you could fill the Ravens Stadium twice with the amount of people that increased. So just to give you an idea, that's the amount of people that are developing a gambling problem, or what they call a disorder. So.
And that is obviously concerning. Now, we need to define that, right? Because this is what I've always appreciated about our relationship, is that you guys don't come here to say no one's allowed to bet, never bet, anything along those lines.
No, we do
not. And it's always a little bit trickier than that. And Kenny's certainly going to be able to speak to this. But how do you define for you when this goes from, hey, it's fine, what you're doing is it's healthy, it's fun, you're participating, to when it becomes problem gambling?
Well, and Kenny and I were just talking about this on the way here, and we were talking about how drinking alcohol is legal. But there are people, Kenny has admitted to us before that, he can't drink. He chooses not to drink because it's problematic for him. I choose to drink, and I'm okay with that. It's the exact same thing with gambling. Either, you can gamble and be safe and use, do low-risk gambling. And some people, unfortunately, though, cross an invisible line, which I want Kenny to talk about a little bit more. And once they do, then it becomes problematic and could be disordered gambling.
Kenny Crawford is a peer specialist with the center, and Kenny, your background, and I've talked about this a lot. One of the things that I appreciate about it, people that when you do call 1-800-GAMBLER or text 1-800-GAMBLER, you're going to have the ability to talk to someone who's been in your shoes. Can you share with everyone your background, how you ended up in this place, that this is what you're doing?
So I'm a person in recovery for drugs and alcohol. I didn't get into gambling until later in life. Basically, I traded one addiction for another, and I've always they didn't have the access to gambling. We didn't have that back 20, 30, 40 years ago.
You had to know somebody who knew somebody.
Yeah.
Find a bookie
Bookie.
somewhere. Yeah, right.
Or take a long trip.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And I've taken them long trips, and I liked it. I liked gambling. It's just I didn't have the access. Nowadays, the access it's everywhere, pretty much. And
you have a phone, you can make bets. It's that simple.
Yeah, and so I was a poker player. I started back in the 2004 the Chris Moneymaker era.
It was the heyday. The
The
World
heyday.
Series of Poker was on TV every week on ESPN. It was massive.
Yeah.
Bill Ivey, that whole run, man.
Oh, yes.
And that's before when we had, now the equivalent to that is, and would that still exist, but the equivalent is seeing all these people making all this money online.
Oh, yeah,
gambling,
right? Everybody's getting rich doing it, right?
Make sure
yeah.
that people understand.
Really weird how that works, right?
Very weird. Is
Yeah.
questionable even.
Really weird how that works.
Yeah, when you see it on ESPN, my dream was to be a professional player, and I chased that dream, chased that money, chased the losses for years and years, and then when the casinos came into town, that was a different story. I didn't know that I had an addiction to gambling, so when I started playing slots, that was Katie barred the door for me.
So when to you, as someone who's been there, you've experienced it, how do you define when it goes from you're gambling to problem gambling?
When it's not fun anymore, when you're chasing your losses, when you're literally banging your head against the walls like, what am I doing?
It's impacting your life.
Yeah, every aspect of your life, and where you're hiding, your problems away from your family, you're lying, stuff like that.
And nobody ever says, whether it's like, hey, Glenn, you want to go to the movies? Let's go to the movies. We go to the movies. We spend 20, 40, 50 bucks, whatever.
We're not going to be at the movie theater for another 6 hours.
And we also don't ever have to take a loan out or get another credit card or a line of credit so that we can keep going to the movies.
Mike, I hear you. It's just funny. Like what you're saying is 100% true. I feel like I worry that that is obviously when you're there, you God, you're
right.
I feel like there are people that I think I've told the story before. In the infancy that I got involved really with betting before it was legal, but there were the offshore books. To me it was mostly fun, right? Mm-hmm. But it struck me at one point that I was obsessed. That I just needed. Is there a sporting event going on right now that I could be trying to make some money on? And what the moment for me, and I poked fun of it, was I was betting on Ukrainian ping pong during the pandemic. And I said, oh, my God. And it wasn't even that I was losing significant money. It wasn't impacting my life in any way. It was just, what am I? This isn't healthy. It's not healthy for me to be going to my phone obsessively to try to figure out if there's some Euro basketball game happening somewhere that I could put a bet in on. And I wasn't taking out loans or losing a house but it was enough for me to say, this is a problem. It might not be an addiction, but it's a problem, and I need to deal with it. And I'm sure I feel like that's the line that I'm looking for is when is it maybe you're not fully there, but if you bring up chasing to me is always you lose a bet, you're going to lose a bet. If you immediately have to go I've got to get that back, that's got to be the biggest example of this is a behavior that's going to lead Kenny to bigger problems for you. Correct?
Yeah. When the worst thing that can happen to somebody with potential gambling problems, and it's what happened to me, is hitting it big right off from the get-go. Mm-hmm. And what I find when I'm working with health seekers, some of the most pain that I see is people that won really big from the get-go and lose it all.
Lose it all, right.
And it's not even their money. They won that money. It's not their money, but it hurt them so bad.
Well, you start doing the math. I had this. I said I could have paid for an all expenses vacation for my entire family with money that I won. But then I just sort of said, no, I'm going to bet on Ukrainian ping pong instead. Again, I didn't lose much money. I lost a couple $100.
Right.
But I could have had, and that really struck me. I could have
down
had
payment.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
This could have been something significant for my family. I could have paid for a family vacation, but I just sort of said no ping pong.
And there's something striking, and I want Kenny, you and I were talking about this on the way here, and I want you to tell everyone what you told me about the house.
Oh, so when you're playing against a house, just remember they're always going to have a bigger house than yours.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
That's always the case. Can I ask? And I don't know if you guys have data on this yet, but I know this is the things are shifting, and now a lot of talk is about the prediction markets and betting that way, which again is not necessarily betting against the house, is what people point out, but it's still betting, and I would assume the dangers are still very real. Even if you're not, again, in this unique instance, betting against the house.
And I know in Maryland, prediction markets, I believe prediction market betting is not legal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in saying that, I know there are plenty of people yelling at their screens right now going, yeah, I could still do it.
Correct.
And yes, you can. You know, there's with the technology we have now with,
yes,
using
it looks like I'm in
VPNs
Albany,
and,
New York
exactly.
right now, right?
So it can be done. I would just be very careful because one of the things that Maryland really does try and point out is we do regulate the betting, and they regulate what the percentages can and cannot go above. And some outside prediction market cannot do that. And offshore betting cannot do that.
Michael Kafis and Kenny Crawford in studio with us today. Kenny, what is the big, if someone, both, they might be, someone they know might be, what is the biggest advice that you can give to someone who isn't there yet, isn't ready to say, I have but doesn't know? It's like, maybe I do have a problem, or maybe my spouse has a problem, or my buddy has a problem. What is the biggest piece of advice that you can give to someone who's sort of on the fence in this moment?
I would try to get them to be aware of what they're doing, to like, is it causing any family problems? Or is it causing you to lie to your family? Like, lying's a big thing, like covering stuff up, what you lost and stuff. I find that's a big sign. And to realize if you're doing that, then maybe you have a problem.
Now, I would like to just point out real quickly that if you or your loved one, if you're, you may be thinking your child or your husband or girlfriend or boyfriend has a gambling problem, but you're not quite sure, go to helpmygamblingproblem.org, and there's an assessment you can take. If you take it for someone else, that's fine. And it'll just give you a little bit of an idea of is there a problem or not. And honestly, if you are a loved one, you are welcome to call 1-800-GAMBLER. This is not a number for people to call that only have a help, that only need help. Yep. This is for people who we will help the family members as well. If they call, even if you are in college and you're just a little concerned that your boyfriend may be getting out of hand, you can still call 1-800-GAMBLER, talk to someone like Kenny, and he will just give you some advice. That's it. We're not, there's nothing that we don't record we don't have to record your name or any of your, vital information. All we're looking for is to help people.
And you can text as well, 1-800-GAMBLER,
Yes,
and
sir.
Start the process. And I feel like it's also important that we say, and it's not just for people that, like, again, know their problem. You can call and get advice about how, if you are someone who is interested in sports betting, I just want to know, hey, what's things I can do as I get into this? How do I do it safely? How can I talk to somebody about that?
Right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be for someone who's just looking to quit. It can just be for someone who's looking for advice on what can I do to help myself to monitor as these things go along.
And we came here with a whole list of things, and we don't have to talk about them per se, and we did mention them, but I would encourage people to go to responsibleplay.org.
Okay.
It was a partnership between the National Council on Problem Gambling and the NFL, and it is a very good page that just talks about some of the things that you can do to play responsibly. And this is very timely, obviously, and so I really do encourage people to go and check that out.
Well,
it's really good advice.
And I know because it's been a big topic recently. I do want to, before we wrap up, I want to talk about the impact on young people right now, because I know that has become a serious hot-button topic that I think is actually going to come up a little bit as we move towards elections in coming years. But, like, how dangerous, if I'm the parent of a 17, 18-year-old kid right now, how nervous should I be? How involved should I be? Like, how prevalent is the problem at the moment, particularly for young men in particular, obviously?
I want to throw this to Kenny. But before I do, I want to say, depending upon you having a 17-year-old, are you allowing your 17-year-old to gamble? Are you setting up something in an app and allowing them and trying to control their betting? Because by doing that, you are causing them a much higher risk to become a problem gambler later in life. But that said, Kenny, talk to me.
So when I started at the center, I would hardly get any younger gamblers. And right now, since the legalization of sports gambling, I am seeing an upgrade, like 95% of all the calls that come in, it seems like they're sports gamblers. And I work the Eastern Shore region, and so, there's not a lot of activity for kids to do out there, so it's easy for them to just, fall in to gambling out there. And as far as like what we're seeing through or what we're hearing through younger people with, say they are under the age and they're in college, or there's always somebody in a dorm room that are of age.
Right.
And what they tell me is they pay that. They're like the bookies now. They pay them and they get into sports gambling. They get in trouble with it.
The buy my beer guy.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
No, I know exactly what we're talking about.
And we're getting a lot of parents that call. And so we work with Parents Place. We usually refer them to them or Gam-Anon, which is a good resource for parents that's been there that can help them out. And because a lot of parents are they don't want to see their kids being in debt at that young age, and what they do is bail them out.
Yep.
And that's
Correct.
probably the worst thing you can do.
It causes family problems on top of everything else and can lead to divorces. And
Yes.
all of that. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
All right, helpmygamblingproblem.org, 1-800-GAMBLER, helpmygamblingproblem.org, and then responsibleplay.org.
Yes, that is some really good responsible, learning some of the techniques you can do. And things like making a plan, setting time limits, things like that. And there's a lot of good advice on that site.
I really encourage everybody to check it out. And Kenny, first of all, God bless you for getting your life turned around and continuing on the path and now helping others to do the exact same thing. God bless you for that. Appreciate that you are dedicating yourself to that. I think it's awesome.
Glenn, I got to know who were you liking in the Super Bowl? You probably already talked about this, obviously.
It's boring because I just think I'm going to end up riding with the Seahawks because they're just the better team. So, yeah, I like the over on the national anthem. It's boring. I think everybody's kind of on the side of the Seahawks. And it's actually making me wonder if I got to start spending the fact that everybody's on the Seahawks, I'm like, maybe I need to look at the Patriots
Unless
a
it's
little bit more.
the Cinderella Vrabel story, but,
or the fact that Sam Darnold could end up throwing 3 interceptions in any game that he plays. Like, you just never know when that's going to be the
Which is why
day.
I wouldn't gamble on that.
That's part of the reason why every time you think you know something, you end up finding out. Again, the house has a bigger house than you. There's a reason for that. Mike, great to see you, brother.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate you as always, Kenny. Great to meet you, man. We'll come back in, and we'll get a tidbit and tubular as we continue along on Glenn Clark Radio. Get in the game with Volo Sports. With over 15 sports to choose from, join a league or grab a Volo membership for discounted play, free daily pickups, fitness classes, and exclusive events. But the best part? A portion of every league fee helps the Volo Kids Foundation provide free sports to over 5,000 kids across Baltimore City each year. Don't miss out. Early pricing for the winter season ends December 12th. Final registration deadline is January 15th. Sign up now at volosports.com/Baltimore.
Watch like a fan, win like a champ. Live Casino is your home for the big game. Sunday, February 8th. Treat your crew to a game day like no other. Catch every play on massive wall-to-wall screens. Score epic food and drink specials and enter to win fantastic prizes. Make your game day a winner. Lock in your table today. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack, Costas is your place to go. Check out the website CostasInn.com for a look look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975, the Costas Inn.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Looking for Baltimore's premier waterfront dining experience? Head to Nick's Fish House, located in the Baltimore Peninsula. Enjoy crabs all year long, plus happy hour Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6. Planning a celebration? From rehearsal dinners to corporate crab feasts, Nick's is the spot to make it unforgettable. And the fun doesn't stop there. Live music fills the air every Thursday through Sunday. Check out the full lineup at nicksfishhouse.com. Nick's, it's where Baltimore comes to eat, drink, and play by the water.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR. Thanks again to Mike and to Kenny, and appreciate the work that they're doing. Again, we're not telling you not to bet. We're just telling you that you need to be safe in the way that you do it, and this is a time where everybody is thinking about it. So anything we didn't get – I didn't talk about the tennis at all today. My God.
What happened?
Yeah, it was a wild night. Stan the Fan, love you, buddy. I mean, just a crazy night between Carlos Alcaraz and Alex Zverev, and Carlos Alcaraz is cruising, and then he starts cramping up, and then Alex Zverev is pissed off that Carlos Alcaraz is taking a medical timeout for a cramp, and he's screaming about it, and it looks like Alcaraz isn't going to be able to hold on, and it's going to be another Australian Open heartbreak for Carlos Alcaraz, and then all of a sudden in the fifth set he comes through and figures out a way to win, so he's on to the final, where, of course, he'll be awaiting Jannik Sinner, the way that they played in all of the finals, because that's what they do. And a funny thing happened on the way to that. Novak Djokovic, who at this point has felt like the odd man out because he's just not on the level of Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, ends up winning in 5 sets over Jannik Sinner. Now, there's 2 issues here. And when I say this, I'm not – Novak Djokovic, by the rules of the tournament, gets to be in the final, right? Like, that's the way that it works. Tennis is a weird sport. My buddy Greg Rosenthal from NFL Network, who always comes on with us, and we did the tennis podcast together, he'll sometimes say this is the beauty of the sport. I think it's the opposite of that. I think it's one of the biggest issues with the sport. Jannik Sinner was in this exact spot at Wimbledon last year, where he was getting his ass handed to him by Grigor Dimitrov in, like, the round of 16. Down 2 sets, just getting blown off the court. And all of a sudden, Dimitrov gets hurt and can't keep playing. And Jannik Sinner, despite the fact that he was, and I get it, it's Jannik Sinner, like maybe he could have figured it out, but if you were watching, you know that guy wasn't figuring anything out that day. But Jannik Sinner gets a gift and gets on to the next round. And this is where you'd like to hope that, like, the tennis gods will step in and say, okay, we're not letting this guy win the tournament. You don't get to have that happen.
Or does it mean that he's going to?
Yeah. The problem is Jannik Sinner went on to win Wimbledon. And, like, as a fan of the sport, I hate it. I hate when it doesn't feel like the guy that won is the guy that really deserved to win. I get it. Those are the rules. That's the way that it works. It happens all the time. Not like that, but it does happen.
Yeah, well, then we got this epic match.
Well, and it's weird that it's now happening for a second time in 3 Grand Slams, because Novak Djokovic, who was already gifted a walkthrough in the round of 16, was then gifted exactly the same, down 2 sets to none, getting his ass handed to him by Lorenzo Musetti, and Musetti has to retire. So this is almost comical. Like, this is, if there are tennis gods, this absolutely should not be happening, because he's only had to play a total of 2 sets in the 2 rounds leading up to this. And much like the problem that we talk about with LeBron James, where like LeBron James can still be a good basketball player, but there's a reason why we all kind of snicker at the Mickey Mouse championship. It's because at this point in his life, no one benefited from not having to travel and not having to have such turnarounds the way that LeBron James did. Novak Djokovic, who physically is far less likely to be able to hold up for the total of 2 weeks, if he's playing a 5-setter after having to play even in a scenario where he would have come back, it would have been 5-setter 2 days earlier. It ain't happening. It's not that he did anything wrong. He did nothing wrong.
Should be mad at the fitness of the.
I'm just mad at the tennis gods.
Well,
and I get it. Like
Musetti and whoever the other guy is should have been healthy.
Right. That's a great point. It's their fault. It's their fault. Screw them. The tennis gods are pissing me off right now.
Too bad a 40-year-old
because
in better shape than.
Yeah. The winner of the tournament should be the best player at the tournament. It shouldn't be the guy that got the luckiest. Like, I don't like that. And I get it. Luck is involved with every sport. I understand. Spare me. I just
so Alcaraz is winning Sunday night or
well, it's
Saturday
weird,
night,
right?
Whatever.
Like Sunday morning, very early Sunday morning. Alcaraz is obviously going to be favored. He's definitely the better of these two players. Like, it's not close, but he's carrying the burden of having never won the Australian Open,
which is funny because he's 21,
right? But it's becoming a thing because he's winning everywhere else. He's definitively but the Australian Open has loomed over him. It's funny because before the tournament, Luke Jackson texted me and said, "Is there any chance it's not Sinner Alcaraz?" And it's funny. I said, "Well, it's absolutely possible it's not Alcaraz. He always ends up yakking something up in Australia, and he damn near did again last night, but ended up coming through. And bless him for that because, again, anybody but Zverev."
So imagine if it was Zverev Djokovic, you wouldn't watch, would you?
I mean, I really wouldn't, like genuinely. And I'm not even mad at Djokovic. I'm just mad at the tennis gods. Like, I wish they wouldn't let this happen. There's also a part of you that says, well, at least it's a storyline other than just another Sinner Alcaraz final. Like, at least it's something different. And there is this, if there is a place for someone at Novak Djokovic's, at this point in his career, to have a chance, it has to be this. It has to be Australia when other guys aren't fully physically in form yet for the season. Once you get to the summer and everybody's in full physical form, a Novak Djokovic doesn't have a prayer. But this is much like Roger Federer, who went years without winning a slam and then at the end of his career just happened to get through and beat Nadal in the Australian Open final, which was really one of the great tournaments of all time because it was the same year we got the final Serena-Venus slam final, and that was the year that Serena was playing while she was pregnant and just didn't know. But this is the place where it can happen because guys take time off, and then there's not a big ramp up to the Australian Open. There's only a few weeks of tournaments, and so it is your best chance for having some goofy scenario play out. And he got the goofiest of goofy scenarios.
So I was wrong this morning when I woke up and they're still playing and rooting for the plus 800 underdog.
I mean, I'm not telling you you're wrong. There's lots of people that are rooting for Novak Djokovic. It's fine. I mean, like, it doesn't bother me. This is about a tennis problem. I don't want this. If Novak Djokovic had won his round of 16 match and won his round of 8 match, or even if one of them, like the round of 16 walkover happened and then he turned around and beat Musetti, then I would feel very different about this. It is cartoonish how Novak Djokovic got to the semifinals.
Still had to play Jannik Sinner.
I understand, but Jannik Sinner, who's been playing every 2 days against the best competition. That's the part. And I'm not saying, again, he still won the match. And if he beats Carlos Alcaraz on Sunday, he's going to be the Australian Open champion. It's not like somebody's going to step in and say, well, yeah, but you didn't. He's going to be the Australian Open champion. He'll have 25 slams. It'll be a whole thing.
Until you become the tennis commissioner, and then you'll step in.
Because there is no this. Essentially, you just say, well, this so rarely happens that there's nothing we can do about it. And somebody would say, what's your plan? Let the loser of the previous match play? Well, ironically, some guys get into a tournament that way. They're called lucky losers. There's a lot of wonky tennis stuff that people don't care about. There is no plan. My plan is there should be tennis gods that prevent these things from happening. And for some reason, the tennis gods have decided to be asleep at the wheel for the last 12 months.
Your sport. Your sport.
Yeah, they've just decided they take some time off. But we're going to get a Novak Djokovic, Carlos Alcaraz, Australian Open final on Sunday morning, and we'll see. I think it's possible that Novak Djokovic could win because, again, I think that the weight of the Australian Open thing really does potentially get to Carlos Alcaraz. And Carlos Alcaraz, while he was sort of the first to break the hold that Novak Djokovic had on the sport for a little while, like, he's also come up short at times against Novak Djokovic in surprising moments, in places where you thought Carlos Alcaraz had surpassed him, only for that to end up not being the case. Like, for example, last year in the quarterfinals of the Australian Open, where Novak Djokovic beat Carlos Alcaraz. The Olympic final in 2024 in Paris. It's goofy. Carlos Alcaraz had surpassed Novak Djokovic as a player, and yet then lost 2 really high-profile matches to Novak Djokovic after that. So in a one-match scenario, I mean, I get it, Alcaraz stomped Djokovic in the U.S. Open semifinals last year, but it's possible. And considering how much less time Novak Djokovic has spent on court, and the fact that Carlos Alcaraz did have to gruel through 5 sets while playing through cramps. And we'll see. We'll see how he looks physically come Sunday. It was an exhilarating – the Australian Open had sucked until last night. It had been a dog of a fortnight. Last night was wild.
Yeah, that's what Fowler said on the broadcast. He was like, there's been no notable matches whatsoever.
Nothing. The only remotely interesting things that had happened to this point were like Jovic on the women's side making a little bit of a run, Lerner Tien like beating Medvedev, even though Medvedev is certainly not at the top of his game, was interesting, right? But and like Naomi Osaka getting yelled at by I can't remember the girl's name. Oh, why am I blanking on who she was playing?
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
But like,
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm the tennis guy, and I can't think of it off the top of my head.
It was funny.
There had been very little interesting that had come from this Australian Open. It had been a wretched tournament up until last night. Last night was incredible theater. Oh, it was unbelievable theater. And now, unfortunately, the finals happen at 3:30 in the morning. So we'll see. All right, that's it. I think we've covered everything. Let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today.
Thirsty, right?
Kirstea.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Simone Kirstea, right. Which was silly, but that's what happens. And by the way, this is the other thing about like Alex Zverev. He's always going to be a mental midget. Did he have a point last night? Of course he had a point. You're not supposed to get medical treatment for cramps, right? Like, and now somebody would say, why? Why? And that's a fair question.
It's your own fault for not drinking enough
water.
Yeah,
it is a fair question as to why you're not. But that is the rule. It's not supposed to. If you have cramps, like, sorry, just deal with them. It's supposed to be for injuries. So he had a point, but he's a mental midget. Like, he's always going to come up small, and that type of stuff is always going to get to him and impact him. It's who he is as a player. Tidbit is brought to you by the print issue of Pressbox, which is still available for a little bit longer. Just a couple more weeks on this one, and then it's gone in favor of a football-themed cover. For the next print issue of Pressbox, go get the best of issue for free at your Baltimore area High's dairy stores, and read it all at PressBoxOnline.com.
Last time Joker was a dog of over plus 800.
Probably the beginning of his career.
2007 Australian Open. He was I don't even know who he was facing actually, but that was the last time on record they have of him.
Correct. The beginning of his career.
Big of an underdog.
Yes.
And then I'll go to football. Matt Stafford won 2 games during this playoff run, almost 3. But he now has 7 total playoff wins, which is the most playoff wins, or he becomes the 7th person to win 7 playoff games after their 33rd birthday. So,
after their 33rd birthday.
So 33 years.
Throw me a pen.
33
There's
years.
2 right by that cord, that blue cord. There's 2 pens sitting right by it. Throw me one of those. All right. Well, obviously Tom Brady.
And it's interesting because, yes, Tom Brady has the most by anyone, 33 or older. But, yes, interesting because all of Stafford's wins have come after his 33rd birthday.
Yeah, that is interesting, right?
Yes, Tom Brady 21 post 33.
I'll
so
say
that's the most by anyone.
Still Peyton Manning.
Yep, 7 for Peyton.
It's kind of comical because he laughably won that Super Bowl when he was terrible. But
well, he's the one to say, "Come on, defense." Yeah. He was clapping real loud.
7 might be a lot. I don't know that Drew Brees won 7 after 33.
He did not.
Yeah,
only 4.
It doesn't stun me. Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner, no.
There was a Super Bowl run, obviously, in there after 33. Rodgers.
Nope. Only 4 for Rodgers as well.
Okay.
Warner, Breeze, and Rodgers all at 4.
Man. Okay. How about Favre? Oh God, Elway. What am I doing? Elway. Obviously. Jesus. Won 2 Super Bowls. How many did you say there were total?
7 for Elway. 7 total. So we got Brady, Stafford, Manning, Elway. 3 left.
Okay.
One of them I don't think you're gonna get. The guy who's second on this list, he played. He's a very old timey guy.
Very old timey.
He was the Baltimore Colts quarterback in Super Bowl 5.
Well, so I'm assuming you mean Earl Morrall.
Yes.
Because both he and John Unitas played in.
It counts as 12 wins apparently.
Okay.
After his 33rd birthday.
So
he's number 2.
Was an NFL MVP.
Yeah. So 2 left now.
2 left. Montana?
Nope.
How about
Montana? Only 6.
What a bum.
Yeah.
That guy sucked. How about Steve Young?
Steve Young also 6.
Jesus Christ.
These are.
I feel like these all have to be older names at this point.
Yeah, they
It can't be anybody modern. Roger Staubach.
Yep. Roger
Hey,
Staubach.
hey.
7 for Roger.
Roger the Dodger. And then the Snake, Kenny Stabler.
No.
How about Terry Bradshaw?
No, not Bradshaw.
How about Bart Starr?
Not Bart. 4 for Bart. 4 for Unitas.
Jim Plunkett.
Jim Plunkett had 8 playoff wins after his 33rd birthday. So,
look at that.
Yeah, there you go.
Was that the whole list?
Yes, that was.
I have 6 written down.
Did you write Morrell or
I had Brady, Manning, Elway, Morrall, Staubach, Plunkett.
Stafford?
Oh, Stafford is the other one. Okay, very good. All right. Tidbit was also brought to you by County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone is the website for you to find out the latest in high school sports, and obviously schedules have been ever evolving in recent days. CountySports.zone to find out what the schedule looks like for your favorite team. Every score, every schedule, everything you need to know for every high school team at every level and every sport all throughout the state. Tubular brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. No better place to watch the big game than Inside Sports and Social next Sunday. 100-foot media wall, great food and drink specials, and always doing awesome giveaways, interactive events. Sports and Social, Live Casino and Hotel, Maryland. Here's what's coming up this weekend, and it's gotten thin because there was a reason why we did the college lacrosse preview this week.
Lacrosse, right?
All of the teams that we talked to were scheduled to play games this weekend. Now, the funny thing about that is how many we had 6 coaches on this week?
Yeah, 6.
Those 6 games that were scheduled for this weekend, how many are being played?
I would assume all 6, right?
0.
What?
None of the coaches that we talked to this week that had games scheduled will be playing those games. And it's different for everybody. Hopkins is moving to Monday afternoon. So they're still playing the Monday afternoon. It's noon.
What time?
Noon.
It is noon.
Noon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was hoping it might be like a 4 or something,
No,
and we'll get it dark.
no.
We'll start getting dark.
Nope. Noon game on Monday for Hopkins.
Here at home? Where?
Yeah, at Homewood.
At Homewood.
Loyola pushed back to March, I think, for their game against Georgetown.
Oh, okay.
I know I should know because
The
I'm
whole
doing the
season
game.
pushed back.
Yeah, no, I'm doing the game, so I should know. But like, it's not even the next game I'm doing for Loyola. By the way, Loyola's going to start the season with 4 games on the road now because of this.
Well,
God, I mean,
so
one of them's at Hopkins, one of them's at Maryland. It's not like they're going crazy, but
so the
still,
Ravens,
it's
so.
tough. That's a great point. Yeah. Well, we think 2 maybe. Towson was the last one to cancel, and that's just canceled. They're not playing North Carolina, unfortunately, which is a bummer.
That is a bummer.
I believe that's the same thing that the Navy game was just canceled against High Point, and Mount St. Mary's game was just canceled against Queens. And Maryland-Richmond, they said, is postponed, but to an undetermined date. So you hope they're going to play it because that's a big game between two good teams, but we'll see is the answer on that. It's funny because I was not planning for the preview show to be about the weather and to be about the schedule, but that's obviously where it went, and the irony is it's very much, and it's forcing everybody in the sport to talk about it and whether or not what you do. I loved the Patriot League idea, but I just don't think the Big Ten and the ACC are going to go for it, and so going to have to be more creative about how you go about figuring this out because the answer definitely, just saying, well, hey, but not every January is like this. It's January. If you happen to get lucky and the weather, and Charlie brought that up. He's like, hey man, we've
60-degree January.
We've had some good ones. Yeah, but that's dumb luck. This is the weather in January. Just because it worked, it's like when the NFL did the Super Bowl in New York, and they're like, well, it worked out. It's not because the NFL had power to make it work.
The NFL might.
They just got lucky that it worked. That's it. End of it. They got lucky. This isn't bad luck. This is about right. And so they got to figure it out.
One omission, apparently, according to John Heyman, the Orioles are expressing interest in a free agent pitcher, starter, Lucas Giolito.
Hell yeah. That's going to make Stan very happy. Yeah. Very happy. I know it's going to make nobody else happy. Tonight, Mount St. Mary's at St. Peter's, 8 o'clock on ESPNU. Tomorrow, Towson hosts Hampton, 2 o'clock on Monumental and also on Flow Sports.
Get back.
The Maryland women host Oregon at 5 o'clock tomorrow on Big Ten Network. Maryland women, unfortunately, lost 3 in a row, 2 of which were in overtime.
Yeah.
And the injuries are catching up to them. But I still joked. There was a tweet going around this morning that apparently Abina Akizi Jr. is visiting Maryland this weekend and is going to go to the Maryland-Purdue game on Sunday with Baba. And I said, maybe take him to the women's game instead? Maybe.
He's going to change his mind.
Maybe. Baba's like, hey, we could go to that game, but what if you checked out this? ESPN Plus tomorrow, Loyola Navy hoops at 4 o'clock. Morgan State, Coppin State. Always a wonderful rivalry tomorrow, 4:30 on ESPN Plus. UMBC's at Albany tomorrow night at 7. Bummer, not just Towson losing last night, but UMBC, a great game, battle, lost on the road at Vermont. ESPNU tomorrow for, I only had that there because that's where the Hopkins game was supposed to be. I can move that. Australian Open final tomorrow morning, 3:30 a.m. for Arina Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina on ESPN. On Sunday. If you want, the Senior Bowl is happening on Sunday. That's on NFL Network. Oh no, that's tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that is tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Big day tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 2:30.
Who's winning the Royal Rumble?
Network. I mean, everybody thinks it's just going to be Roman Reigns coming back and winning the Royal Rumble, and it absolutely could be. I don't really have a strong opinion on who it should be. I'd love for it. No, I mean, Gunther, everybody thinks is going to retire somebody. That's Gunther's bit right now. Is he's facing AJ Styles with the Royal Rumble with the AJ Styles' career on the line. Yes.
You got a Royal Rumble pick?
Hey, we had a water issue here, and we were all backed up. Everybody was backed up.
I thought John had a Royal Rumble pick.
The women's Rumble, it better be Bianca Belair. It better be Bianca Belair winning the
Rhea. Rhea's time.
No, everybody thinks it's going to be Liv Morgan.
I'll take Rhea.
Wild favorite.
Rhea.
I do like Rhea. Sunday, CBS, Purdue, Maryland, 1 o'clock. That's on ESPN Unlimited, so I can't even watch it anyway because I don't have Unlimited. So I'm like the Rumble is
highlights,
not a thing for me. And I'm not paying you more money, ESPN. I've got ESPN Plus. Go F yourself, asking me for more money.
So is this going to be every single thing?
It's absolutely go. And I kick effing rocks.
So everything's gonna be on it,
I get it. Everybody's got to make money. I understand that. We're all in business. I am already paying you. I'm paying you. Kick effing rocks, thinking I'm gonna give you more money. Stop it. I
just wanted to watch the Caps game last night.
Why couldn't you watch that? But I mean, okay. All right. Purdue, Maryland, Sunday, 1 o'clock on CBS. But I'm paying for ESPN Plus. They get my money for ESPN Plus. They want me to pay more than that.
So is this going to be every pay-per-view, premium live?
All the WWE events.
Well, because
yeah.
WrestleMania was on Peacock, right? Yeah,
Yes.
all you needed was
Yes.
Peacock.
Yeah, just had to have Peacock,
That was perfect.
which I had. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, wasn't it? It's not.
So
this.
now it's going to be on ESPN Unlimited.
Yep. They can
It's
F
on.
right off. It's not happening. It's not. There's nothing I love enough. I don't. I will pay reasonably to watch most things. I don't love anything enough for you to ask me to double dip, to tax me on top of what I'm already paying you. No. It's not going to happen.
Monumental, by the way. Yeah.
What's wrong with Monumental?
They pulled out. They pulled out on YouTube TV. So
Well, that's a different conversation. Like that's more.
Well, they want you to pay for M Plus or whatever,
Right,
and that's like
right.
$20 a month. It's ridiculous.
But you're a number one Wizards fan, dog. How you going to watch
I'm not. They don't want me
Bub
to.
Carrington?
Ted Leonsis said, "Don't watch my team," and I said, "All right, I won't watch any."
Purdue, Maryland, 1 o'clock Sunday on CBS. They also have the Grammys on Sunday nights.
Trevor Noah hosting.
Yeah, nobody cares who hosts the Grammys. Like, that's not a thing.
Why? He might make
They
some
don't-
good jokes, maybe.
No, he's hosted them the last couple of years. It's
He
been
has?
bad. It's been bad. But it's also, like, the award show that, because there's music, it's the one that least relies on the host,
Yeah,
is
true.
the Grammys. Monumental on Sunday for Mount St. Mary's in Manhattan at 2 o'clock. The Australian Open men's final, Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz, 3:30 a.m. Sunday on ESPN. Besides the Grammys, what else non-sports? You also had, when you posted this yesterday, you posted something really bizarre as being, you had Keita Brunson and Glass Animals on Saturday Night Live.
Is that not?
It's most certainly not.
When are they hosting?
Glass Animals had like one hit, and I think it was 3 years ago. Like, I have no idea.
Who is hosting it then?
Alexander Skarsgård is hosting.
Oh, really?
With musical guest Cardi B.
When the hell
tomorrow
did they
night.
change that?
They didn't change it. At no point was Keita Brunson ever hosting this SNL.
I thought she was.
I have
Okay.
no idea why you think that.
All right. Well, I guess maybe it was. Maybe that was January 30th.
Yeah, it might have been
2021 or something.
Yeah, something like that. Glass Animals is not. That's, by the way, the only reason why it like jumped off the page at me. I'm like, Glass Animals, what? Yeah.
All right. Then those people are doing Saturday Night Live. Not
Alexander Skarsgård and
Yeah.
Cardi B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a 49ers documentary on AMC Sunday night, Rise of the 49ers. If you want to watch the Rise of the 49ers, that starts Sunday night.
All right.
And that's really it. HBO Max has If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. That's now streaming on HBO Max.
What is that?
It's like an Oscar-nominated movie. It's supposed to
But
be.
what is it?
Rose Byrne is in it.
Okay.
I don't know much about it. I want to watch it though.
If you say so. Keita Brunson hosted SNL. I'm trying to think if she ever hosted SNL with Glass Animals. I just searched Keita Brunson Glass Animals and nothing came up. So I think you might have had a fever
It was supposed
dream.
to be. It was supposed to be something at some point. Then
Are you sure?
I can't imagine. I can't
think-
imagine I'd make it up.
I don't know where you got it from.
I guess you think I just had a dream and was like, I think.
I don't know, but I'm trying to come up with
Animals.
this. I'm trying to come up.
I think it was supposed to be scheduled at some point. Had to have been.
Where are you getting that?
Somewhere. I mean, like.
I am really struggling, man. I am very much struggling with where this was a thing. What was the song? What was Glass Animal's song called? Heat Waves.
Yeah,
that was
Heat
in 2020. That was when Glass Animals were a thing.
They had. So they've never been on SNL either.
I don't know if they've been. They might have been on SNL. That was a big hit. I mean, it's possible they were on SNL, although 2020 was not a good year for anybody to be doing anything. I don't see an episode of SNL that involved Glass
That's
Animals.
what it made. Well, that's why it would have made sense. Their comeback this weekend.
What? Where did you get that?
I don't know. Somewhere.
I'm genuinely fascinated by this fever dream
I'm trying to remember where
that you've
I get-
concocted of a Keita Brunson. It feels like a Mandela effect type of thing. Like that was a thing. I swear it was.
I mean, I can't imagine. I just was like, Quinta Brunson at Glass Animals. That's who should
Is it
be
Quinta?
hosting.
Is that what it is? Am I saying it wrong?
I thought
You
it
might
was
be
Quinta.
right. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't watch enough of her work. I mean, I watch Abbott, but like
Yeah.
that's.
It was wild, man. It was a wild moment when I pulled that up. I was like, what? What is going on here? All right. Anything else? You already did it all. Never
I
mind.
think so. Yeah,
All right, we're
it's
good.
everything.
Thanks today to Stan the Fan. Thanks to Jim Callis and the folks from Problem Gambling. We'll get that up in the greatest hits section of the...
Tonight on Celebrity Wheel of Fortune is going to be Big Sean and Tory Lanez and 2 Chainz.
Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Great. Wait, Tory Lanez?
No, not Tory Lanez.
I'm like, there's
Tory
no
Kelly. Tory
yeah,
Kelly.
My guy.
Tory Kelly.
Isn't
not
Tory
Lanez
Lanez still in jail?
Hopefully.
Like, wait a second. Holy hell. All right. But you won't be watching that tonight because you'll be listening to WBAL and the Glenn Clark Show. Scott Garceau is going to join me, of course, Baltimore's Hall of Fame selector. We'll talk about the Bill Belichick controversy. And Jonathan Mayo is joining us tonight. And who knows, maybe Maurice Kennedy is going to be joining us tonight on WBAL as well to talk about his former coach, Jesse Minter. So all that coming up this evening. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, the Costas Inn, Baltimore area High's Dairy Stores, Volo Sports, Nick's Fish House, 1-800-GAMBLER, helpmygamblingproblem.org, CountySports.zone, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Oh, don't forget the Bat Around is back tomorrow. Tomorrow morning with our guys. I'd say that. I know Paul's doing it. I don't know if Zach's doing it with him or not. But somebody will be with Paul for the Bat Around tomorrow morning. Think it'll be Zach. And then we'll be back on Monday when Josh Bynes is going to join us, former Ravens linebacker. He is, of course, now the linebackers coach for the Seattle Seahawks, getting ready for the Super Bowl. So looking forward to catching up with Josh Bynes on the program.
He could have been the linebackers coach and a linebacker this year for the Ravens.
I still don't doubt that he could play if necessary. All right. Have a great weekend. Go local hoops teams. Duke sucks.